Hello, everybody. It's Bool. I'm here. I've got a friend waiting in the wings that I'll bring out shortly here, but at first I kind of wanted to cover why I'm doing this. And I'm doing this because Kyle Curtis in someone else's live stream, I'm not going to name who it is because, to be fair, they honestly don't deserve my publicity. They don't deserve me even bringing them up on the stream. So, with that being said, I will bring in my friend in the waiting, Ilya Moon. I really want to thank her in advance for her being here. And when she arrives, she's here to kind of help keep me on track a little bit, even though she doesn't know the story fully. She's been around for most of it. But I also want some moral support because I am going to be taking questions, and I'm going to be taking reasonable questions. I'm not going to answer any questions that have been answered on other channels. I'm not going to answer anything that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm discussing here. It's just not, and it has to be reasonable questions. I am not going to shirk I'm not going to shirk reasonable questions, but I will shirk unreasonable questions. And without further ado, Miss Ilya Moon.
Hello, Paul.
Hey.
It was such an honor to be asked by you to join me today. Not only are you one of my dearest friends, but you are the producer on our channel. And I've not only known you for a very long time, but I have now worked with you for a very long time. Um,
Yeah,
and in all of the time that I've known you, which has been probably a year now, you've never lied, been dishonorable in any way. You've never ever done anything disrespectful. You have always been extraordinarily honest and upfront and thorough. So, when you speak, I listen, and I am here to support you as your friend, first and foremost, family, and I'm also here to make sure that you stay on track and you don't get a little lost in the weeds of stuff. So um, today I just ask that moderators be respectful of those who do have actual questions, and also look out for people who are here just to cause pain or harm. And if we can do that, then this should be a fairly smooth show for Bull. But I'll just be here in the wings to keep him on track and to help him out.
and that's much appreciated.
Love you, Bull.
Love you too. So really, in all reality, it's just going to be my story, right? It's going to be my perspective of what happened with me personally on the NonSequitur Show. The legal issues, I bring up the legal issues simply because they're intertwined. There is no way to divorce what happened to the show from the legal issues, other than to say it's a personality conflict. So let me start by how I actually heard about I'm one of the first fans of the NonSequitur Show. I was one of the first people to subscribe to it on YouTube, and I was not really watching, but listening to the podcast before. In fact, I was there when Steve McRae announced the podcast. He was on a stream with Kyle Curtis on his channel, kind of announcing it along with some other things that kind of didn't, really seem relevant, and they aren't. So he announces it, and I watch it, and I'm watching it. And as I'm watching it, I find out that the house I'm staying at is going to be sold. So this is kind of what's been happening in my life at that point in time. Now, keep in mind, I hadn't been asked to do this at all at this point. So the first time I ever produced the NonSequitur Show, it was to do it as a co-host because Frankie, the current producer of the show, Frankie from the Geek Room, actually was spreading himself quite a bit thin at the time. He was doing the Geek Room, he was doing the NonSequitur Show, and he was doing daily morning walks in downtown Greenville, South Carolina, where doing all that he was doing with a wife and a kid, I can't honestly blame him for being spread thin. So, Kyle, after I produced that one show and co-hosted because Steve was off that day, and keep in mind, I was always under the impression from this point going forward that this was a 50-50 partnership. I was asked to produce the NonSequitur Show on a permanent basis, based upon my ability to stream in 1080p, right? So I can do high def, and people liked the high def, so I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And Kyle actually asked me what I would take as compensation, and I told him at that moment in time all I wanted was some layouts for my own show, which is called Bring Your Best. Now, these layouts never materialized, despite me asking him time and time again what was the status of my layouts, meaning for my show. I don't know if he was confusing that with the layouts I needed to do his show the whole time, although I suspect that might be the case. I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. But in hindsight, it seems to me he just didn't want to actually give me the layouts. Don't know why. Not sure what that was all about. But, you know, at some point we became monetized in July. Now, keep in mind, when I started doing the NonSequitur Show, I had just moved from the house I had moved into because they sold it out from under me. So I got my place I got a condominium, and I stayed in that condo. Well, 2 weeks after I got that condominium, I was let go from my job. So this builds up to the eventual eviction. Now, there was a fundraiser at some point to keep me from being homeless at that point. I'm not sure. I believe I saw somewhere that the NonSequitur Show had contributed to that fundraiser. So I can't speak to that. And I don't know who would have been responsible for such a donation, but I didn't run that. I believe it was actually the Geek Room again that ran that fundraiser. For that first cover the rent thing. Keep in mind, I was looking for a job for a year. So it didn't pan out that I got a job in time to save me from getting evicted anyway. But let's kind of move forward again. So I get evicted from that place. I get some people that offer me a place to stay in Orlando. And turns out they weren't paying their rent, even though they were subletting me the room and I was giving them my money. So yeah, that didn't work out too well either. So I got evicted not once, but twice in the span of 3 months. So I moved into where I'm at now in January of 2019. Now keep in mind, I've watched the channel get monetized. I'm doing this. I've done over 500 shows for the NonSequitur Show. I've watched it get monetized. I've seen $500 nights roll by as far as the number of super chats go by. So I know the channel's making money. Steve knows it. Everyone who watched it knew it. They saw the money start rolling into the channel as soon as we got monetized. It's not a surprise to anybody that this was building revenue. So time goes on after I move here, and keep in mind that it was Red's rhetoric that actually helped me move here to where I am now. He's one of the wonderful people that actually found me the place to stay. So, you know, there's a couple times during this trial of all this moving around and getting evicted and stuff that the NonSequitur did pay my internet bill. In fact, I'm willing to go over all the points about all the monetary points right now that were actually paid by the NonSequitur Show. So let's look at this. I went back to my PayPal to find specifically what was addressed to me from the NonSequitur Show. So, number one, we got $100 on June 4th, 2019. That's for my internet bill, and that's the last payment I received from the NonSequitur Show. So, that's for an internet bill. May 3rd, 175. That might have been a past due and an internet bill. $40. I believe this was for when I jokingly said I would love to have some Monster drinks too. So he sent me $40 on a whim. $20 to help me cover something. I forget what. Probably the internet bill again. This is back to March 5th, 2019. So we're still in the year of demise at this point. And then $100 on January 23rd. This was definitely for the internet bill. This might have been even to help me get it started, because I had just moved on January 9th. So it might have been the first internet bill where they put deposit on. Again, I'm not exactly sure what these were for. I know they coincided with me requesting help with bills. Another $40 on October 13th, which was at my interim place in Orlando. No, actually it wasn't. That was before I moved into my place in Orlando. So that was in my condo. And then here's two on July 7th and July 15th for $75 and $150. Now these would be for bills as well, internet bills. So if we add all this up, what do we get? It literally adds up to exactly $700. I got $700 from the NonSequitur Show. I have officially received more money than Steve McRae from Kyle Curtis, is what this means. So that is what he had paid me. I've done over 500 shows. That works out to less than $2 per show. The cheapest rate I have right now for a show is $10 per show. And that's been my rate since this happened. That's been my minimum rate since this happened. I am not willing to take less than 10. And there's people that think that's ridiculous, and they pay me much more for a show. So I don't know why Kyle thinks it's okay to pay me that kind of money. And pay Steve nothing, but keep the kind of money he kept. That is why I called it theft. And apparently in this other person's stream, he called me an idiot. And I haven't actually looked it up. I don't have a timestamp. I don't care to watch it. I really don't. But apparently, I'm a shitty human being for showing Reds the financials. I didn't show Reds Rhetoric the financials of the entire company or the entire thing. I was setting up a stream at one point, and I at the time said, I wonder how much the channel's actually making, and we both happened to look at it. That's as innocent as it was. We weren't trying to get information to go after Kyle. We were merely, it was more my curiosity than it was Red's Rhetoric's as to what the channel was making. And he's a friend. He was standing in the room with me. It's the kind of thing we would be interested in as content creators. And at the time, Red's Rhetoric was a friend of the channel. If you go back and look at the NonSequitur Show, I lost count of how many times Red's Rhetoric was on that channel doing something with us. So, it was not beyond the pale for me to show him that information. Joey D, at $10 is seriously cheap, but there are some people out there who cannot afford to give me more, and they're actually having a problem. I've been mostly a sliding scale when it comes to cost. That's probably going to change as time moves forward and we solidify some things between me and the content creators I actually do work for. But this is kind of a unique niche thing that I do. I don't really know anybody else, or too many other people rather. I know others, but I don't know too many others that actually do this for a living. So I don't know what an appropriate amount was. I'm trying to gauge that because there's a lot of stuff that's base level, like having an internet connection, having electricity, etc., that needs to be covered. So it'd be nice to get to the point where cost of living is, but it would also be nice to have fair prices, because I don't want to be unfair to people. So I can't honestly say that I can afford to keep it at the rates that's now, but barely. Ilya, you've been really quiet.
Yes, I've been letting you speak.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, I don't want this to go on too long. We've only been going for 15 minutes, and I feel like I've covered a lifetime of stuff. But I do want to bring up one little thing here. I want to show you guys the court case, because everybody seems to be on about these numbers, and I just don't get these numbers. I showed you the $700 I received from Kyle. If I look at this, and if you look really close at this, it's really hard to see, but under operating expenses, it says producer costs, David Fulton. This is profit and loss, supposedly from Kyle's letter. It says 0. And point of fact, I did not work in 2017 for the NonSequitur Show. So that's a fair number for my services for that year. Let me see here. Let me see if I can page this down while
While you're trying to do that, I just want to address something in the chat. The person was hidden, but Bull is an adult and a big boy. He doesn't carry anything for anyone else. He is his own person, and to suggest anything otherwise is to suggest that Bull isn't an individual and can't make his own decisions, which he does every single day. Yes. Don't underestimate Bull. Bull will not do anything Bull does not feel comfortable doing ethically or anything like that. He is one of the most honorable people I've had the pleasure of meeting, and he would not do something unethical. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is that you're looking at someone as being unethical who wasn't unethical, and you're looking at you're looking in the wrong direction. So, yeah, don't accuse Bull of carrying anything for anyone, because Bull is his own person and can make his own decisions.
That's okay. It's okay. I know exactly who that was, and that's the kind of person that can actually go fuck off. Right. Seriously, if you're listening to this and you know who you are, fuck off. Some of the shit you've done, sneaky behind the scenes of other people that isn't out in the open, I know about. So don't kid yourself. I know you're a piece of shit, and the people you hang out with are pieces of shit. So let's continue. All right, producer costs David Fulton for 2018. He says 180 and 40, so that's 220 for 2018. Well, I'm not really sure, but that might jive. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the dates on this again. Let's see here. Let's go back to the first. Come on, restart. There we go. So that's 2019. So let's go back. 2019, 2019, 2019, 2018. So 40 and 75 and 150 is what? 75 and 150, real quick, is
225.
225. So 225 and 40 is 290.
No, 260. Or sorry, yeah, 260. Yeah, 265.
265. Okay, yeah. So 265 in versus 220. I can live with that. He missed a $40. Let's take a look here and see where the next year comes in. Let's look at 2019, because this should be the bulk of it, right? Whoops. crazy little thing.
AC Mom Bull has said at the beginning of this that he is not discussing any monies that were exchanged between Steve and the non sequitur, which would be Kyle. He is only discussing what was
Right.
directly
I
paid to
can't.
him.
I cannot speak to the money that has transferred hands between Kyle Curtis and Steve McRae. I wasn't there. I haven't seen those receipts, and quite frankly, that's not my business. To be fair. So in this one, it says producer costs total is $265. So $265.28 plus the other one. It's pretty darn close. So he's actually supporting going ahead and saying yes. What he listed was darn close to what it was. So that's enough of that. But that's just to operate the internet at my house. That's all that is. You need that as a channel expense. It doesn't even begin to cover the cost of the work I put into it. So that's kind of where I was, and I was sitting there producing all these shows, and in the meantime, in between Kyle and Steve, I was hearing Steve tell me Kyle said it was going to be on the 15th of April 2019 that we're going to hear about all the money. The time comes and passes, and now we're actually interested in what's going on with the channel, and we forced the confrontation with him. And the reason we forced the confrontation with him is because he was not communicating with either one of us. In fact, he asked me to lie. Yes, he did. He asked me to lie to Steve McRae for the purpose of hiding the fact that I had admin privileges on the NonSequitur Show channel again, and he did not. That is the context of the next screenshots that I'm going to show you. Let me go ahead and find them real quick. Is there any interesting questions in the chat, Ilya?
None really. AC Mom had asked the question about what Steve gave you that was reimbursed, but she said she didn't hear at the beginning where that wasn't going to be discussed. But
well,
she
I just
asking
it's okay
about
it's okay to
Steve
ask it. It's okay to ask it. It's just I can't speak to the amount of money that is exchanged hands between Steve McRae and anyone else, because I don't have access to Steve McRae's receipts, and I don't have access to the other party's receipts.
And then, so the question then changed to what has Steve McRae given?
Okay, so somebody I'm prepared for this. I didn't really want to show this. I'm going to ask Steve McRae to go ahead and give me the thumbs up in the chat or via Hangouts that it's okay to go ahead and show this portion of it, because I have it ready. I don't want to show it unless Steve says it's okay.
And Feeling Squatchy wants to know who specifically hired you. Was it Kyle or Steve or both?
Well, it was. I'm trying to think back, because I think Steve gave me a heads up that Kyle was going to contact me because he couldn't be in the show with me, Telltale Atheist, and Lloyd Evans about Jehovah's Witnesses. That's the first show I did. I produced and co-hosted in that, but it was Kyle that talked to me about that, and it was also Kyle that spoke to me after the fact to do it permanently, because there were so many people impressed with the high-def graphics.
Right. Steve says you have his explicit permission.
Okay. Yes. Let's see here. So let's cover his, and then we'll get back to what Kyle asked me to do with lying, because that clip is actually honestly already out there. I shouldn't really have to show it again, but I shall. So here's what Steve has given me over the past since the first of during the time the Non Sequitur ran, I guess, because he's given me more for producing Caffeine Corner after that, but that's not relevant to this. So I'm going to keep it down to what was given to me for the course of the Non Sequitur Show. So if we look at this...
Hey, Lono, it's not an issue from Bull for now. Bull is addressing a statement that was made by Kyle on another stream,
Right.
where he called where he called Bull an idiot and a troll and said that he got paid for all of his work. And Bull is just showing the actual receipts that shows if he's considering it being paid for all of his work, it comes to less than $2 a show. So
Right.
that's what this is about.
That's what this is about. Right. So here we have $8 and $157 from Steve McRae. Okay. So then in the next one, there's two more. And that shows $62.25 and $40 from Steve McRae. This is all back in October. This is when I was actually in my other place of abode. Or wait, not yet. This is before that. This is before I moved out there. And this is while I was at my new Orlando residence where I was living. This is $55. And that gives us a grand total of $323.13. Now, there are some that say, well, Steve was reimbursed. Okay, if he was reimbursed, that's fine and dandy. But I know for a fact, for a while there, he wasn't reimbursed. He was paying me out of his own pocket, and I don't know when he got reimbursed exactly, if he did. He can explain that in the chat.
Not only that, but if you add up what Bull was paid by Steve and the Non Sequitur as a payment towards his production, at over, if we just put it at 500, which we know Bull did more than 500, but even so, that's $2.05 a show, which is not the standard payment for the job that Bull was performing. Let's be very clear.
And yes, I did say I wasn't doing it for the money. That doesn't mean that money's never going to come up. It doesn't mean that I wasn't eventually going to ask for money. All it means is at the time I said that, I wasn't doing it for money.
How many shows are we doing, Bull?
Right now?
No, then.
Then, well, there was the Non Sequitur Show, which was Monday through Friday. There was Saturday Night Fights, which was 2 shows. Some days we were doing 2 shows on like Tuesdays. And then there was another night. It was basically every day I was doing at least 1 show, sometimes 2.
Yes. So you were basically doing 7 days a week at a minimum of what, 2 to 2.5 hours?
Yeah, something like that. Oh, that's a good question, Ink Boy. Speaking to the VMix license. So in this next page of the court case, it literally says VMix software license $2,500. I mean to tell you that number is incorrect. It is $1,600. It's a $1,600 piece of software. Setting that aside, donation made to Kyle Curtis, not NSS, is a blatantly false statement. I was in the call where you were asking me specifically, Kyle, and Jamie Sislow, the person who bought it for us, asked us what email address to associate with this. And I said, well, if you made it mine, I would be able to walk off the Non Sequitur Show and take VMix with me. And if I made it the channels, as in it belongs to the channel, I didn't say not NSS, I said the channel specifically, then we should put it with the channel's email address, which was live@nonsexshow.com was the email address we used. So
So to
none
put
of
it,
that was a donation to Kyle Curtis. That being said, at the breakup of the Non Sequitur Show, I was able to use the vMix software license for a time until I could afford to purchase my own license. And I did so as quickly as possible. No, I have not been using the Non Sequitur Show license at all for probably close to a year at this point. Because I bought
and
it when
let's
I
help,
had my job that I got back last June. So,
let's help put this in perspective. So just some quick math for you guys. If he did a baseline of 500 shows at around 2 hours each, that would be 1,000 hours worked during that time frame. If you divide that by the monies paid, he made 97.7 cents per hour. That's it.
yep.
So if you're looking at a baseline minimum wage job, he should have made $11,750 at minimum wage, the minimum requirement for being employed.
Right.
Now, given this is a different type of work, because this isn't necessarily, going out into the field and working every day, but nonetheless, if this was truly a business, like Kyle wants to make it sound, and he wants to produce all of these books, then he's severely underpaid full when you look at minimum wage requirements. I'm just saying.
And I was willing to take it with the promise of the channel going forward and getting to the point where it could afford to pay us. Like, that's what we were banking on. We weren't, everybody who does a show on YouTube is banking on the success of that show, right? They're saying, we're going to put our all into it with not much invested, and we're going to try to get it to work. Ilya's doing the same with her new channel, Sit Down with Debunkers. Everybody who's started a YouTube channel understands this. There's no guarantee it's going to work. You have to work to the point where it's stable, and you have to find that stability. And once you've found that stability, which we thought the Non Sequitur Show had, or at least I did, up until November of 2019, when I noticed that Kyle and Steve weren't talking anymore, that's about when it started for me. Like, hey, what's going on? Why aren't we seeing any money? Kind of came up then for me because I was getting evicted. I'm like, I'm not expecting you to pay for my bills completely, but at least present me from being homeless. And it wasn't the Non Sequitur Show that prevented me from being homeless. It was the community at large. The amount of money I've received via PayPal from everyone else in this community over the years is staggering compared to what the Non Sequitur Show paid me. It's staggering, and it's so appreciated. I can't even begin to thank the community that has helped me.
But he didn't work for the community, you guys. Let's just keep that in mind. The people in the community did that of their own free will because they wanted to help out, because it's bull, right? Nobody wanted to see him homeless or in harm's way. But when it came to his work as a producer, that is something and should be viewed as something completely different and should not be convoluted with one another.
And then there's the fact that I was put in between two people who should have been able to have a conversation without me. Point blank. You should not have been using me as a mediator, and I'm not blaming Steve McRae for this at any stretch of the word. I know he reached out to Kyle many, 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 many times without me. I know that. It was Kyle that was not talking back. And to give Kyle the charity he deserves in that situation is he was looking at keeping guest retention. People who've been on the show like Aaron Ron, Matt Dillahunty, people who have differences of opinion with Steve McRae were saying they would not be on the Non Sequitur Show. Well, that doesn't really matter because there's other guests to be had. You're lost if you don't want to show up on our channel. So that's a choice Steve can make, and that's a choice Kyle can make. It was not a reason for for Kyle to do what he did to Steve. Not even close to a reason for that. In fact, Kyle should have been defending Steve for a lot of the stuff that he didn't. So, anybody come into the actual Discord server? Let's see here.
People have joined the server, but I don't see anyone waiting. I know that we have someone pending, or we have someone waiting in the live stream voice chat and in the live stream chat to vet questions and actually allow people into the stream with Bull and I to ask any questions you want to ask. So if you have questions that you want to ask of Bull, now is the time to do it, because this is his one and done. After this discussion, he is going to go back to producing and doing what he loves here on the internet. So if you have questions you want to ask, the link to the Discord is in the description. You can join. Look for the live stream chat room and then the live stream voice chat where you can ask your questions. And then you can also be vetted and enter the chat with Bull and I to ask your questions if you would like.
Right. I'm looking at some of the chat right now, and people are saying Steve actually owes him $75,000, and they're like, yeah. All I'm saying is that Kyle's inability to accurately even report what he's paid me, because that adds up close, but it's not the same number, and I have receipts from my own PayPal that says what he's paid me. So I don't know how you screw that up when you have receipts in PayPal that tell you exactly how much that is.
I think that you know, when you're talking about production cost of a show, now that I've been waist deep in Sit Down with the Debunkers, right? Hey, Joey D, ask it again. I apologize that some of the chat was moving and I don't think I saw it. So if you'll ask it again and tag me in it, I'll tag me and Bull in it. We'll be sure to catch your question. But I can tell you right now, so I spend, outside of Bull's cost, because Bull does get paid for doing our show. I'm not going to talk about how much he gets paid. That's nobody's business. But Bull does get paid for doing our show. But I can tell you what I pay out of pocket does not reach nowhere close to $1 million. I've probably paid $300 in total out of my own pocket for what I do for sets, graphics, art. And then we also have a couple of other team members who this is their job for a living. So they already have the software. So there was no cost to them. And so, you know, to even begin to suggest that it was like $1 million in that type of work. In some cases, yeah, I'm sure that you would pay that much. But when you're a YouTube channel starting out, you know, I mean, I certainly haven't paid that much. And there's also free things online. Like, you know, some of the stuff I used to start out with was free.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so,
the cost of actually running a channel once you have the software and all that stuff. It's more of a big time investment.
Yes.
It's the time you put into it. It's not so much like it literally takes me probably 5 minutes to load up Caffeine Corner into VMix and get ready to do Caffeine Corner. It's not a hard show. But
okay.
It's at the same time, I have to sit through the show. I have to have my internet has to be up for me to do it, and I have to be ready to pull up any information that Cheshire and Steve want me to pull up at any given time. So it's not like I'm not taking my time that I could, if I wasn't doing that, be going grocery shopping or doing all kinds of other things that people do in real life. So yes, it is a job. It is very much a job. So
Joey D's question is, that said, did Kyle ever discuss billing the Non Sequitur Show for his artwork or music? Or
As far as I know,
Or
he
he just
never
tried to
had.
build a genuine business like other businesses.
I never heard him discuss him paying himself for his own work until the death of the Non-Sequitur Show, which is out there. You can watch it, and he alludes to it in that recorded private conversation that was leaked. Yeah, he alludes to it. He alludes to what all the work he's done into his 95% comment, that kind of stuff. So he wants to make out like he's done this huge amount of work. There was 3 people doing work. Steve McRae got guests for a long time until you stopped talking to people trying to get a hold of Steve McRae for a guest. Yeah, you didn't let them be guests. That's a thing that happened to Sandrine Person, if I recall. So yes,
we had another question come through via Twitter to me. So it says, Bull, is it fair to say that it didn't start out being about money, but turned into that because of how much work you were requested to put in, including being on call to set up the show within less than 15 minutes warning?
yeah, it kind of did, because for a while there, Kyle had a schedule up on a Google Calendar. We could always go in and see who was supposed to be on with whom. Then that kind of fell by the wayside. And the only thing still on that calendar is Friday Night Fights, and that's because that's a recurring event, and no one's bothered to take it off. So yes, technically I'm still scheduled for Friday Night Fights, which is kind of funny. But the midweek shows, I never knew if there was going to be 1 or 2. Sometimes things would change on a whim. It was a Tuesday night, and all of a sudden, same Tuesday night as the death of the Non-Sequitur Show. In fact, that complete evening was a crap show. Caitlin Chloe from Opinionated and Kyle and I were supposed to do an Opinionated show before the Non-Sequitur Show that was supposed to kick off with 33 UC and Red's Rhetoric. So that's why 33 UC's name is in the death of the Non-Sequitur Show, because he was supposed to be the flat earther that was going to be on with Red's Rhetoric. And keep in mind that hangout only occurred because Red's Rhetoric had said to Kyle, while I was standing next to him and he had Kyle on the phone, he said, I will not be on the Non-Sequitur Show without Steve McRae, because we had all noticed that Steve had been kind of not showing up on shows anymore. We noticed it. It was not a new thing. So Steve McRae was a friend of ours, and we wanted to back him. So we eventually, when it came up to force the conversation, we forced the conversation, and we all know what happened after that.
Yes, we've all seen what happened around. Another question from Tom. When you were producing the Non-Sequitur Show, were you under the impression that you will get a percentage of the net profit, a fixed amount, or what?
Well, it had been alluded to several times. Steve McRae and I, at one point, had directly discussed me getting not only a percentage of the Teespring, which was why we were doing the Teespring in the first place, because it was to help me out, right? Because I needed the help, and he recognized that. So that was supposed to kind of help me out. I don't know what percentage it was. I believe it was 1/3 of all the income would be mine if I managed the store. Also, at some point we had discussed, and Steve had said he was talking to Kyle about this, of 10% from each of them being donated to me. So basically 20% of the revenue total would come to me. And that was between Steve and I, as far as I recall. I never discussed that directly with Kyle, but I had no reason to think that what Steve was saying and had discussed with Kyle was subject to Kyle's whim at that point in time.
Boy asked, when did you notice that Steve was kind of kicked out of Non-Sequitur?
Well, I mean, it was a very gradual thing, to be fair. I would say around October, November 2018 Somewhere in that time, I just noticed, like, hey, Steve's not doing a whole lot anymore. It's like, oh, it's always Katie or Casey or Shannon Q. And not that I have anything against any of those people or their content. It was just, it wasn't the same show. It wasn't not the Non-Sequitur Show. In fact, a lot of people were starting to complain. They wanted to have the Non-Sequitur Show come back with Kyle and Steve because of the dynamic those two had when they did a show together.
Yeah.
At Christ, that would be their net. The gross would be minus the operating costs, like paying my internet bill. Just saying. Because that would be a channel expense to pay your utility bill.
I don't think we've had anyone come in for the Q&A session. We've had some people join the Discord, but it doesn't look like they have any questions, or they're not joining the live stream Q&A area. So I haven't seen any more questions we haven't gotten to so far.
Yes, intellectual iconoclasm has been helping me and supporting me basically since this happened, as have a whole bunch of other people. My patrons, you all know who you are. I really appreciate everything you've done. Most of that has been related to the Discord server, but it is just, you guys have been awesome. So the people who are supporting me monetarily and with their time, I definitely appreciate it. This would be the time to join that Discord server and get in if you actually want to talk directly to me.
Yes. We won't be on too much longer because we do have, I'm gonna be a shill for just a minute, but Sit Down with the Bunkers has the weekly dirt tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. That Bull is the producer for, so
yeah,
we do have set up for that to take care of.
Yeah, I gotta shut this down and set that up. So let's see. Are you willing to return to the NSS if it gets back up and running? I've never left the NSS. Let's be clear. I never left the NSS. I've been temporarily barred from producing it based upon its legal status. And that being held by one party but ordered to be given to another. And that's all I'm really going to say about the legal aspect of it, other than Kyle is digging himself a pretty big hole by not complying with a court order. It's been said a couple times, and as far as not improper service, I leave that to the judge to decide, but my interpretation of the law, and this is just what I've read of the law, the relevant passages that have been quoted in multiple streams, is that North Carolina merely requires somebody who's 18 or older to sign for certified mail for any at a last known address. The fact that the person who signed for it was related to him and he clearly got that pretty much means he was served properly. So it's kind of a lame excuse to keep beating. It's just it's delaying him going to court and having to face the music for not showing up in the first place or complying with the order as described.
I have 3 comments and a question. So Quitty's corrected me. We don't have the weekly derp that Bull produces, but Bull has to go babysit Quitty's for an hour at 9 p.m. So that's about the truth. So the other comment came in via Discord from AT2 Productions. Thank you, Jared. You're honestly one of the nicest people. But he said, no question here. Just wanting to show support for an awesome guy who got fucked over in one of the worst ways imaginable. Completely agree. Then Craft Tequila also said, I don't have any questions. I have too much respect for you, Bull, to believe that you'd ever lie or deceive in regards to the NSS. I completely agree, Crafty. Joey D's question is, did the channel ever see a difference in viewers or income due to Kyle's art or music, or was that based on the guests and subject?
I have to. That's a tough question. It really is, because Kyle, for all his faults right now, was actually pretty decent at what he did for the show, as far as putting the sets and the graphics out there. That was a cooperative effort. I had to school him on the capabilities of the software we use, and there was like shows like Debate Roulette had, none of that was really Kyle's design per se. That was kind of me and David McGinnis that put that thing together. He did make the layouts, but that's what he does. He makes layouts. He makes thumbnails. He makes end cards. He makes end videos. He makes intro videos. That was his choice to do that. And he was good at it, but at the same time, people came for the content of the show. People came for the guests like Rick Efrack and Misha Griffith and Maggie Bryson, the Egyptologist. Just those kind of guests, those compelling people that have something interesting to say about history or science, like Landon Kurt Knoll being on it. Anytime Landon was on, or Cy Gart, or just there's a whole bunch of people are my favorites, or the stuff about Jehovah's Witnesses and Scientology, just fascinating subjects that I kind of that was what people were watching for. Then Kyle decided, well, he wants it to be about gossip, about fake news, about conspiracy theories, which is fine to cover occasionally. It's cool to cover conspiracy theories, but when you cover flat Earth to the point he did, you lose your guests, because all your guests did was come on and get trashed by Fight the Flat Earth, Team Skeptic, and Godless Engineer. That's all that happened with Fight the Flat Earth, or not with Fight the Flat Earth, but with Flatterday Night Fights. In the end, that's literally all. You exhausted your pool of flat earthers to actually have a conversation with.
So Joey D said, I want to pay Bull to teach me to produce a quality live stream. What I will do, Joey D, is put Bull's email in the side chat here. And if you would like to reach out to him, you can reach out to him. And oh gracious, why do I?
And Tony Designs asks, do you think the guests will return if NSS is restarted? I believe that we will get maybe not all of the guests that we've had in the past will come back, and many will have their reasons, justified or unjustified, as to why they won't. But there will also continue to be other guests. So, there's other places to look for guests. The internet's huge. That being said, it's not my job to get guests. That is Steve McRae's job. And it's Cheshire Vic's job to get guests for the NonSequitur Show.
Bull does not get guests for sit down with debunkers. Never has, never will.
No.
Honestly, it is myself who lines up the guests. I line up what the topics are going to be. And then I share with Bull what we're doing, who the guests are. And we have a schedule that I put out that is usually about a month in advance, so he knows what's coming up. And he gets everything he needs ahead. But it is not up to Bull to make that happen. It is me that goes out and I do the work. I create the networking for our show to make sure that we're getting the guests and we're getting out there and getting.
I don't know where the figure of 750,000 owed to Kyle comes from. I don't even know what figure you're talking about. I'm looking in the answer that Kyle gave the court. And I am not seeing anything here that would even remotely point to Steve owing Kyle that kind of money. And it's blatantly ridiculous for him to have earned that, because if he wants to play that game, then I can go ahead and just unilaterally charge him for the work I never agreed to take money for. I did without any monetary agreement whatsoever. I am not going to sit here and say I want money from the back. I don't. I don't want the money that Steve may or may not see from this court case. I don't want anything to do with that money. What I do want is for the audience of the NonSequitur Show and the fans of the NonSequitur Show to be appeased and to have closure for this horrible breach of trust that has taken place against their contributions to a show that were just taken for what seems to be selfish reasons. That money was given to the NonSequitur Show with the idea that it would, I'm fairly certain that it would be split between the people who make the show happen and would be used to further the channel. One or the other, both, most likely.
And yeah, I understand, Tony Designs, what you're saying, that what you meant was he can have an informed opinion on guests coming on. But here's the thing. Bull doesn't always get the ability to vet guests coming or going on a channel. With our channel, I mean, I don't know if I should say we, but I stay on top of it. Like, I am on top of it with giving him information ahead of time. When it's go time for one of our shows, he has everything he needs, but an informed opinion on a guest isn't necessary from Bull's perspective.
Okay, wait a second. There's a claim in here. Steve's saying it costs $3,000 for each show to produce his new show. Tigran agreed to argue. $3,000 for what? Yeah, that's a good question.
I can't imagine.
I'm not sure what this is saying.
I'll let Steve handle that conversation in the side chat because I have no clue what it's about.
Well, it's going to go off the side chat really soon. Yes, this will stay up. I don't intend to take this down. What I do intend to do,
Jennings, that's just not necessary. Like, seriously,
who?
There is no need. Buck Jennings, there is absolutely no need for attacks. We have had a very healthy side chat this entire time, and you come in calling people names. That is not necessary. Be amicable in the side chat, and you're not going to get booted or timed out. We've had many people asking critical questions today that we have answered and we have reviewed without booting them or timing them out. But you come in and calling names, that is unacceptable, especially right now. This is Bull's channel, and he is trying to share his side of the story, and that was unacceptable.
I'm not sure what this question even means. Andrew Akira Znitzi, whatever that is. Do I think the Eric Mann incident was the crux of the downfall of the NSS? The Eric Mann incident? I'm not even sure what that is. So no, I don't think it was the crux of the downfall. Here's the thing, Ape Boy. I don't go full Reds. If I wanted Reds, I would have him here. He would just be here. Oh, is there an Agrippa here?
If there is, I'm blocked. Although I should still be able to see them.
Yeah, we should be able to. But you know what? I blocked Agrippa too. Because I really don't give a fuck what that guy has to say. The guy's lost the plot a long time ago.
I've learned a long time ago that if someone's Twitter and YouTube page is dedicated to the hate of one person and they're not producing any other real content outside of that, then more than likely they're just full of shit and need help.
Oh, I'm sure Agrippa's watching. Everybody's fascinated with what I have to say about this because for some reason this is a fascinating subject. My take on what happened. Y'all waited this long. Over a year. 400 plus days at this point. No, I don't private my streams. I don't do that. There are.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Amy Hogan said also no questions from her, but she's there to support you. Also, Brainery says that They have memories of you having to connect the host with the guest from a mix of programs, and you did an awesome job. Yeah, so there's a lot of support here for people, and I think that anyone who knows you can say without a doubt, you are not a liar, you do not deceive, you're an honorable person, and you care a lot about how you present yourself, and you do it in an ethical fashion. So
Right.
I think,
I've lost jobs over my ethics. Okay? Just to be perfectly clear, I lost my job with Scientist Mel and the Geek Room because of ethics. I lost my job with the In Time show channel over ethics. So I'm not going to be the kind of person who sits down and and lets shit go. I don't do that. I don't let people get away with shit, which is why I decided to have this stream in the first place. Because Kyle, you coming after me, that's just sad. Especially this late in the game. You saying anything about me just makes you look like a jackass. It really does. It's between
yeah,
you and Steve McRae. It's between you and Steve McRae, but you fucking took the money. You've even said it. So to try to backpedal now and double down on your bullshit is just sad. And your gamesmanship with the court, I don't know if that's your idea or somebody else's, but if it's somebody else's, I would suggest you stop listening to that somebody else. They do not have your best interests at heart. At all. They don't give a shit if you go to jail. They probably only care about sticking it to the man, that man being Steve McRae, when it comes to the Non-Sequitur Show.
every time you praise Bullinators integrity, it's a mission that Steve does not know. No, no, no.
That's not how that works, Sarah Smith. Steve is one of the most trustworthy
No,
people I've
they're
ever
not going to
met.
twist my words. Not going to twist my words.
Nope,
I
not
love
happening.
Steve McRae. Steve McRae has been an excellent friend to me. He has been there for me.
You
He
want
has
to?
supported, and
Yep.
I'm not going to let you take my having a conversation at Bull, since this stream is about Bull. If you didn't catch on, we're on Bull's channel. I'm not going to let you put words in my mouth because I'm standing up for Bull. Absolutely not. I will
Nope.
say it here publicly and with with every part of who I am. Steve McRae, Cheshire Vic, Red's Rhetoric, AT2 Productions, Sean Hufford, and all the people that Kyle and his little gang and Uniclock want to gang up on and degrade have been there for me, have been kind to me, have been honest with me, and have been nothing but good people to me. So I'm not going to let you twist my words like that. But this
No.
is not about them. This is about Bull. So
Yeah.
shut the fuck up with that bullshit. Sorry, Bull. I'm sorry.
And to respond to same message that has now been deleted in chat, Steve McRae and my story jive. They do. And the reason they jive is because it's the actual truth, people. As if Steve McRae had done to Kyle Curtis what Kyle Curtis has done to Steve McRae and myself, if it had been the other way around, I would be standing in Kyle's court right now. I would be singing his praises for suing the shit out of Steve McRae. So don't even think that it's just because I'm a Steve McRae sycophant, because that is not the case.
Absolutely. And just because I'm sitting here praising Bull and supporting Bull doesn't mean that I don't have support for these other people. I have an immense amount of support for these other people, but this is not about Steve McRae. This is not about Chesh. This is not
Nope.
about Red's Rhetoric or anyone else. This is about Bull right now. I am going to discuss how I see Bull and how Bull has shown up for me. But if you want to go there, I can tell you that Steve McRae has shown up for me and been a friend and been good to me. I can tell you that Red's Rhetoric has. I can tell you that Cheshire has. And I can tell you to go fuck off with that false narrative. But this is about Bull. That's why I'm focusing on Bull.
Yeah.
And Rock a Lot, you can take your opinion and your non-evidentiary bullshit and shove it far up your fucking ass. Sorry. Well, I'm so sorry. Sorry. I was supposed
Um,
to keep you on track, and here I am going off.
I'll let you go off. It's amusing. It's deserved. You need a little catharsis yourself. So to actually address Rockalot, because he's a fuckwit, why is the dislike ratio turned off in perpetuity? Well, I turned the dislike ratio off because I know there's going to be people that are going to dislike it. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of seeing how annoying they are. I'm not going to let them run their numbers. They can dislike it all they want. That's still interaction for my video. And you know what? Given the status of my channel, I could give a fuck less if they like it or dislike it. I will respond to appropriate comments on the stream. All others that I don't like, they're going to get deleted and the user's blocked. That's how it's going to work with this. This is a one and done. Don't come at me if you want answers. If you do, if you want answers, respect me and the answers I give.
I'm just saying it. Sorry. I have a little I have little to no patience when it comes to attacking Bull on any level when it comes to anything, to be quite frank with you. And then I really have no patience for people who want to literally try to put words in my mouth because I am praising Bull. They have moved on. If you look at Steve's channel, his channel and his Twitter is not hate written towards people. He's actually putting out content.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually reviewing math, science, philosophy. He's actually doing things with his channel. If you look at Red's Rhetoric's channel, it's staying true to what that channel is. It's about science and space and rockets. If you look at Cheshire, she's staying true to who she is. She's doing her art. She's doing some gaming. She's doing that time of the month. They're producing content. They are not out here literally just posting shows for the fuck of it with nothing but drama and hate towards other people. But that's all these people are doing. They are staying in that mindset. And it is disgusting and it is sad.
Hey,
and
guess
Bull
what?
Doesn't deserve
Guess
it.
what? Guess what, people? KJP wanted nothing to do with us. Then maybe she shouldn't have inserted herself into this business. Lono, sorry, bud, you're hidden. That's kind of how that goes. KJP wanted nothing to do with it. Then why did she open her ass up on Twitter and shit out that content like, oh, it's all been decided? There were 2 lawyers and a power of attorney and a no. And she's talking with the very people that were in the meeting she's citing that can consistently and honestly say that was not the fucking case. That is not what happened in that meeting a year and a month ago at this point. And the fact that you came out and then you blocked people who said, no, you're wrong, I was there. You blocked them instead of saying, well, okay, I got it wrong. Don't be surprised when people throw shit at you if you keep throwing bullshit at them.
I'm really sorry, Bull, for losing my temper.
No, you're all right. You're all right. But again, this is a one and done. It is a one and done. So I'm not really seeing too many new.
No, it looks like people are just in the chat just saying hey to each other and talking. At the end of the day, Bull appreciates all the support from the people who support him. And to be quite honest with you, Bull has many ways you can continue to support him. You can support him by becoming a Patreon for him, which is in his description. Mm-hmm. He also has one-time donations set up that you can support him if you want to help support him. You can also support him by actually subscribing to one of the many channels that he does production for. Mm-hmm. He does get paid for his services, and the more successful the shows are, at least with our show, the more successful our show is, the more he's going to benefit from it. And, at the end of the day, Bull is an amazing producer. He is an amazing person. He is an amazing friend. Um, he deserves support and he deserves respect. And I am truly honored to call him friend and family. And of course, when he asked me if I would be paid for support and to stand by him, my answer was yes, without a doubt. And I think as a community, we can do better, you know?
Yeah, we really can. It's been an ongoing theme, kind of back and forth between me and several people, Steve McRae, Cheshire Vic, Red's Rhetoric, that you just ignore the trolls, and I'm fully on board with that. You block them and ignore them because they're trolls. That's what you do with trolls. So
Somebody just sent me I don't know who this is who sent me a message request on Twitter, but they're requesting a potential paying or hiring you to teach them how to stream better. So if you can tell me who you are, I'll accept the request, but I'm a little apprehensive to just accept the request without knowing who you are on Twitter.
And my mail, if you look at the about page on my channel, I'm pretty sure my email address is on it.
Yeah. You can get a hold of Bull directly if you'd like. But yeah.
There's lots of ways to get a hold of me. You can even comment on this stream, and as long as it's, in the form of that, I'll be watching the comments later.
So, just to bounce back to something that was said much earlier in this stream in the side chat, on this episode of Who's the Boss, we learned. No, just kidding. That person who was saying all of your bosses.
All of my bosses. Listen.
All of your bosses.
If I thought for a minute Steve McRae was wrong in this, I would tell him to fuck off, and that would be the end of our relationship. That literally would be it. But I don't. I've been there. I was actually there, remember? It's really hard for me to say, oh, well, he was wrong. No, he was right because I was there with him through it. And we watched Kyle do this to the channel. Point blank. All your boss are belong to us. Yes. Thank you, Christ Puncher. All right. Well, at this point, there's not a whole lot more to say. I'll give it a couple more seconds to see if there's any pertinent questions in the chat. I'm not really seeing that. I was... Steve McRae brings up a point that I was there when he started the GDC. I was there shortly after he started it, yes. Don't know how you steal your own G+ group. Not sure how that works at all. And yes, I can tell Steve McRae when he's wrong because I've done it before. So, yeah, there's that. How about, if you want facts on Steve McRae, just ask him. We don't need to follow Menace to Sobriety for that. Alright, I think I'm going to let us close out here. I appreciate everyone watching. And again, this is my one and done. And I will see you tonight on the Weekly Derp over on Sit Down with Debunkers. Ilya, you have anything to close with? Ilya? You there, Ilya? Ilya? Where'd she go? I guess not. All right. Well, I appreciate you being here for me anyway, and I am going to close.
Sorry.
Oh, you do? Do you have something to close with?
Sorry. No, I just I got knocked off, but I'm back. I just want to close out with saying that I love you, Bull, and I'm here for you anytime you need me. And to all those who have or had questions for Bull, this was your opportunity to hear him out. And if you're around later and want to catch him producing live, come over to our channel and watch the weekly derp that'll be on at 9 p.m. tonight. It'll be a
Absolutely.
funny show.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be one of our more popular shows. That's just me.
I do too. Yeah, me too.
All right, everybody, good night. See you later.